Welcome to the YCNU podcast. Join us each week for engaging conversations with campus leaders, students, faculty, staff, alumni, and community members. From academics to athletics, campus life, and beyond, we cover it all. Have someone you want to hear from? Let us know. Let's explore the world of Yavapai College together.
Welcome to the podcast. I'm Kadu Medina. I'm your host for the episode today. And I have here with me two really busy and special people, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves here in just a second. Let's start with you.
I'm Dawnette Polland. I work with adult basic education. I'm the coordinator for the workforce portion, where we work toward trying to encourage our GED and ESL students to be employed. Then I guide them.
Beautiful.
And I'm Alex Barber. I teach commercial driver's training here at Yavapai College, where we try to get personnel their commercial driver's license so they can go out and be employed. It's part of the career and technical education program of Yavapai College.
Fantastic. So we have a power couple here today with a lot of really exciting things to share with us. So let's start with, both of you, and Dawnette, you can go first. So can you tell us a bit about your background and what led you to your current role here at Yavapai College?
It's quite interesting, and I use it to help our students, talk to them about things change. You start off in one area and think this is where you want to go, and then you learn about some other things and you take a turn. I started off as a paralegal. I was in the legal field for about 18 years as a litigation paralegal. Loved it, but really it's all about arguing. I don't like to argue. So finally, I decided I need to change that. And I went and finished up my associate's degrees. I had my associate's degrees already through Yavapai College. Then I went and got my bachelor's. And then I said, okay, I need more than that. And I got my master's. And then the process in between things, I got certified as a TEFL instructor, which is a globally recognized, like a 2-year degree. I got it through Scotland. I didn't go there though. Dang it. But, and I thought, well, maybe I could use everything I know. I'm also an artist. And I say that because I'm using everything I know, my background. I'm a portrait artist. I'm learning a new media called pan pastels. And I usually use professional color pencils, and I'm putting those together. And so how can I use all this? I work for the best boss, Craig Lefevre, because he allows me to use everything I have, everything I know, all my skills, my creativity. So I received my TEFL certification and decided, okay, maybe I can teach or volunteer something here at Yavapai College or shadow, tried it. So they allowed me. They normally don't at that time say we don't usually bring people on board, just have them volunteer and stuff because it's so involved what you have to go through. But they said, just come on, come on board. So it changed from just talking to them for a few times to becoming a part-time job as an ESL teacher. And I did that for a while. And then they wanted me to do, it's actually called IET, what I work under at the state. It's Integrated Education and Training. I changed it for conversation to workforce education and adult ed. And so Craig says the state needed someone that does that full time in that position. So he offered that to me. Of course, I accepted it. And from there, I just use all my talents. I've learned from you to not call it marketing. I've learned about advertising. And I work toward helping us get advertising done for our program. And then Alex here.
Wonderful.
Wanted me.
Before we talk about your collaboration here with Alex, which is super exciting, Alex, tell us a little bit about your background and what brought you to Yavapai College. How do you make this transition here too?
Well, I'm Alex, and I am retired military, spent 20 years with the military, a very strong background in training and operations. When I retired, I was in the aviation field in the Army. When I retired, I was an unmanned aircraft systems drone program instructor, trainer, operations guy. I did that for 9.5 years, and one day I quit. And I needed a job, so I drove tractor trailer. I went to Pima Community College to drive tractor trailers. And from there, I went driving trucks. I had some children in Arizona, Tucson. I needed to get back to Arizona. So I applied to Arizona Department of Transportation to be an equipment operator. and did an interview in Prescott, Arizona, MVD office, to be an equipment operator, only to find out that I would be the CDL road test examiner. Okay, I took the job so I could be in Arizona. And if you look at a map, Prescott to Tucson is only like 2 inches.
Right.
That's 5 hours driving. But hey, it's 2 inches. I can make it there in a weekend. So I get to see my kids grow up. Well, I had a bunch of young men coming to my office, in the MVD office, and they're taking up all my time to get a commercial driver's license. I'm like, where are you young men from? 20 to 40 of these kids at one time, every 8 weeks. Oh, we go to the college. What college program? Lineman. Why don't I come out to your course in your school and meet your instructor and your personal, just give you all the information so you quit coming to my office and using up all my time. And they're young guys, 18, 19, linemen going through the power line. So I came out to the course and I made arrangements to come here, and I met the instructor, met the students, and I started briefing them. Well, the first day I came here, I decided I need to go meet the dean of this course, or who runs this campus. And I walked into the office, and it was Dr. Carla Phillips then. And she sits me down and says, well, hey, nice to meet you, Alex. What else do you do in your life other than truck driver road testing? I go, I used to teach a drone program in the military. She goes, oh, we have a drone program. We need an instructor. He's getting deployed. And I'm like, I just came in your office, and in 10 minutes, you're offering me a job to teach? She goes, yes. And I'm like, sure. And then she goes, what else do you do? Well, I'm working on my doctorate, and I need some help, and I may have to quit that because of money. And she goes, what's slowing me down? I go, I need some reference books. She walked over to her cabinet and pulled out those 2 reference books I needed.
Wow.
Blew me away. I meet her within 20 minutes. She's offered me a job and is giving me 2 reference books to complete a doctorate. Okay, I started teaching drone program while the instructor was deployed. Come back. I still worked at MVD that entire time until I got my degree. Well, once I got my PhD degree, I moved over to the State Emergency Management Office. That's where my degree was at. So I sent everybody who helped me, including her, a thank you note. Hey, thank you for helping me get my degree. She goes, hey, Alex, since you've been moving around, we rented a truck. Since you're not part of ADOT, can you come up here and help teach our students to drive trucks? Since you're not part of ADOT, you're not allowed to teach. And I'm like, sure. You're offering me a job? I'll take it.
That's incredible.
And what the funny part was is those same exact lesson plans for the drone program were the same exact lesson plans we had at Fort Huachuca that I had been working on. So there's many hidden blessings, there's no other word for it, at Yavapai College. And this is over 7 years ago. Myself and the first class of students, we were out in that field building what we call the backing skills, the track. And we built this entire program from dirt ground up. And thanks to her and the staff having a vision and seeing what was needed and how we could grow. And that's my background. That's how I ended up here.
That's fantastic. It's quite a zigzag line to get here, but we're so happy that you are here. So let's go back to you here for a second, Dawnette, and tell us a little bit about what does a typical day look like for you here at Yavapai College, and what's your favorite part of that routine?
Well, let's start with my favorite part of the routine are the people I get to meet here, like you and Alex and Marnie's fantastic, Max. I just get to meet some really fabulous people. And this might sound weird, but I like brains. I like people that can think and be creative, and that's what's happening here. And I'm drawn to that. My typical day is pretty much for the last 2 years has been actually the CDL VESL program, Vocational ESL CDL program.
Yeah.
And around that, I do talk to other GED, go to classes and talk to them about what Yavapai College can offer. I believe in the certificate programs. Big seller on that one because they're stackable. And our students in the GED program, it's rough for them to be there. They've left school for some reason. Their parents were alcoholics. They became the parent. They were drug abusers. They, young, became pregnant young, or just struggled in school. They just couldn't figure it out, or they didn't like it. And now they're back. They need it. They find that jobs are requiring them to have that high school equivalency diploma. So I go to them and say, hey, this is what we have at Yavapai. this is certificate programs. This is how I can direct you and help you. And I'll even help you find funding, not necessarily that I have it, but let's try to figure that out together. And sometimes I connect with Kelsey Rumsey and say, hey, I've got this going on. Can you help me? And she'll guide me on what to say to our students. And the other thing then, I help with the advertising, like I'll contact you or something like, hey, we need to get something going for whatever I'm working on. I do posters. I make great big, huge, shiny posters for like GED or CDL. I've made one for CTEC that we're going to eventually use. But I mainly, for the last 2 years, my life has been vocational ESL, CDL. I live, eat, and breathe that pretty much. I think about it when I'm going to bed, and finally figured out an app on my phone because I can't work in my sleep anymore.
Can anyone?
No, so I
Should anyone?
No, so I start, this is what I got to do tomorrow. And I have this big long list in this app. It's called Notion. And then the next morning I go to work and I do it. But I was working 7 days a week, almost 60, 70 hours a week to
That's
get this
awesome.
where it is today.
And we're going to talk about it in just a second. I want to hear from Alex here too. What is your typical day like, Alex? And just so people understand a little bit more of, what goes into your line of work here at Yavapai College, and what is that favorite part of that routine for you?
Well, I've got to tell you that the people here at Yavapai College are the best.
Yep.
This is it has to be the best place to work in Arizona, probably the Southwest United States. The great people, staff, faculty, administration, some of the most outstanding people, and they're always positive, humorous, willing to work, willing for the success of the students and the success of the program. There's almost every day you come to work and you're smiling, you're happy. I do show up late often, more times than I show up on time. But I usually show up around 8 o'clock, and I do fulfill the roles of an instructor for the students. We are road test examiners for ADOT, doing road testing. We have additional duties because we're at a small camp. We're at a large campus of 80 acres out here in Chino Valley. There's 7 of us who work full-time at the campus outside the students. So we all have additional duties to keep the campus running. Mm. Whether I'm out pulling weeds while I'm teaching a student a moment and for 2 hours to back a vehicle, then I'm pulling weeds out of the track to maybe helping plant plants for the plant sale. I'm very big in the avocado trees. So come to the plant sale and buy some of my avocado trees.
Okay.
Put a plug in that for Harvest Fest and plant sale. But so by the time I leave, it's usually 7 or 8 o'clock at night, because after we're done with the students, we still have grading paperwork to do. And then other things that we do as a team. This is an entire team effort out here at our campus to make sure our campus is safe, secure, and we're ready for the next group of students. And it doesn't matter what program they're in. We're all working together out here. So if there's a task to be done, we're working on it.
Right.
And it's a beautiful thing. It's a great thing. It's an amazing thing of what we have going on here for the people of Yavapai County in the state of Arizona. And I got to put a plug in for Dawnette. She's a great artist. The work that she does with the pencils is just on its own level.
Thank you.
Well, podcast is not a visual medium, unfortunately, but I'd love to see and share some of that stuff. Dawnette, we'll have to kind of get back to that later.
Okay.
All right. I know that this is the part that you guys are super excited to talk about, and so am I. I want to hear about this project initiative that you guys have been working on together, and that is very exciting. It's new and fresh. Tell us about VESL and what it means. What is that?
VESL is Vocational English Second Language Program. It's designed for personnel who do not speak English to learn the vocational language or vocational knowledge they need to be successful to earn a certificate in training, or in some cases a degree, but primarily a certificate in most career and technical education programs. It's vocational specific, and we use it for commercial drivers to learn the trucking language, the trucking industry language with vocational style, so that they can earn their commercial driver's license. The truck driving program is just one of many programs we foresee in the future, learning that vocational language. It differs quite a bit than a normal English second language course and that you're learning that you have to learn the vocational knowledge and the vocational words to be able to perform a skill.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about the beginning of all this, because that was the interesting part. We had a variety of students from our community that weren't even enrolling in the program because of the language barriers. And how did you kind of came up with the conclusion, we need to do something about this. We need to create a little adjustment to the program. We need to add the ESL, to this program so that we can have more students come through the program and graduate successfully and obtain, a career. Tell me a little bit about the birth of this VESL program.
I think it's pretty much started with Alex had a dream, and then I'll let you share that dream, but that's how I was contacted by Max, who was the associate dean at this campus at that time. And we just took off from there. You want to explain how you came about that?
We saw that let me back up. In order to earn a commercial driver's license, you have to take a road test. This is federal government regulations. And that road test has to be done in English. The road test for a truck driver license is 2 hours long. Has to be done in all English, no other foreign language. We had people from the community coming to see us and see if they could do it in Spanish, do it in Chinese, another language, and we couldn't. We researched it. There was no way this was going to happen. So I realized that we have a very large Hispanic community, and I have a dry erase board in my office, and I put everything I'm going to do for the next year. And at the second year, I'm like, I'm going to put that on there, and I'm going to see how I can make this work where I can get enough people to learn enough English to pass the road test. And so I kept playing around with it, and I'd find people who were try to come out here, and nobody really wanted it because at first they were intimidated by college. They're intimidated by the language barrier, all this stuff that you have to go through to get your commercial license in the MBD, turning all these documents in. Are you a citizen? Do you have the physical? Do you meet physical requirements? Is there even an education requirement to get the license? All these barriers we didn't even know existed, we took for granted. And as things were going on, I went to my assistant dean, the associate dean, and it was a Max. I'm like, Max, I want to get this done. How do I make this happen? I have some people coming in here and I can't seem to make it work. There's a language barrier between me not speaking fluent Spanish, but I have some of the material. I think I can make this work. I just need help. And Max reached out to Dawnette, and Dawnette's like, hey, let's see what you're doing. Let me see what you're doing. Let's see where we're going with this. And I'm like, I keep losing students and they don't stick around. And I don't know what I'm doing right. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I'm good at English. I'm good at teaching anybody who speaks English to get a truck driver license, but I can't get this one working. So that's where Dawnette comes in and kind of like Superwoman in to save the day and help me out.
Thanks.
You want to take it over from there? Because you
what does Superwoman say after that?
Well, that's when you needed an artist to come in and help me figure this out.
She one of the first things we did is I kept selling my program to anybody I could. And she said, well, slow down, show me everything that you're using. And I showed her the CDL book, all the practice tests. I showed her all of the training materials I designed and developed. And we actually improved those because of her input. And so we laid them out in almost like a sequential order. Mm-hmm. And then we started she came out and watched us try to teach some Spanish-speaking people. And she started saying, hey, let's change the material around here. Let's look at just one piece at a time. Let's translate this piece. Let's take a picture here and translate those pieces between English and in this case, Spanish. And it was a piecemeal item. And she started also explaining to us as instructors, we may take things for granted, but like just simply enunciating one word can change the meaning of that in a foreign language. And we have a funny story we talk about all the time, and I'll say it for her, but it's about glad hands. And a tractor trailer has glad hands, and it has landing gear. And try to translate that into a foreign language. I'll let her tell that story because that's all her.
Yeah,
But you took over helping me change, because we wanted to keep it. I wanted to point out that this is vocational. I wanted to stay away from learning Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday that we were taught in English second language courses. I wanted to just teach the vocational portion, just the material that they needed to be successful in passing that road test. I didn't want to spend the time teaching them how to turn a movie on or rent something or purchase something. I wanted them to learn the vocational skills they needed to pass that road test
Perfect.
and be successful in employment, getting a job and being able to do their job. That was the concern we had from the very beginning.
Part of that too is that I never have talked to you about, eventually, but I would, is that part of the vocational ESL is that they also, I always see them going into talking to their boss or turning in their mileage or something like that. How are they going to communicate that? So whatever we do in the classroom is also going to build hopefully some everyday language for that job,
Right.
for the vocation. Like we started working on an EMT program at one point, but it was important to say they're going to have to work with patients. They're going to have to be able to speak English. So it was just kind of supported that train of thought. But I've got to point something out before we'll get the glad hands in a second. But when we first started this thing, and I didn't know Alex that well, and we'd be sitting in Max's office, and Alex would come in, and he's saying all this stuff, and it's my job to work on the vocational ESL portion, and he was getting so flustered, and he's never rude, but he's rubbing his head, he's looking up to the ceiling. That's one thing he does. He looks up when he's thinking, and he goes, I said, Alex, that's why I'm here. Alex, another time, that's my job. Alex, I
Very
can do
supportive.
that. I can do that, Alex. Let me do it, Alex. And finally, he got trained.
We call that bridge training. I'm afraid that I'll be walking across the bridge and she's got me trained so much when she says jump, I'll be like wet.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. But back to the glad hands. So glad hands and the landing gear. So when you're talking we're just working with our student Candelaria, and we learned that when we were translating things, that there's things we cannot translate into their language because it has to stay. Glad hands is considered a noun. It has to stay glad hands, or landing gear has to be landing gear, because glad hands, I translated and I didn't catch my mistake until Candelario caught it. He puts his hands up in the air like they're laughing, like happy hands. And then the landing gear to him was landing gear on a plane. So we had to be more specific. So we've learned a lot. It's great. You have ideas, you have a plan, that you pay attention to what's their eyes.
Right.
Because their eyes will tell you if they're getting it or not. Because our student was in the beginning didn't want to tell us that he was not understanding, other than no speak English is what he kept saying, but we saw through that.
Yeah. Speaking of Candelario, let's talk a little bit about him, because I know he's not just the first student that graduated and got certified and is making a living now with his dream career, but he's also a very important part of the development of this entire program, right? He assisted you through the process. You used Candelario as almost like your test ground for all this. So tell me a little bit about him, who he is, how he came into this program, and how this whole thing
he's
enrolled.
Our first vocational ESL student that graduated CDL. Correct, Alex?
Correct. He's the first one to go through the full-blown, what we call vocational program. We've had other people who spoke Spanish, learned enough English to pass the road test. That wasn't quite the vocational program where we put so much energy into designing. What Candelario helped us do was he knew what we were doing. We explained what our goal was, the design of a program that anybody who did not speak English could learn enough English to pass the program. So I guess early on he did agree to help us as a student and learn the English, because he wanted to get that license. He knew it wouldn't be a 6-week or 8-week. He knew it would be a long period. I think he knew that starting off, or he came to realize that. And then he did work with us, being the person saying, hey, I don't speak English in that word. I don't know that word. I don't know how to enunciate that word. How do you say this, or how do you say that? And so he knew what we were trying to do, design and develop and build a program. I don't know what his education level is to this day. I don't know if it's like 3rd grade, 5th grade, 8th grade. I don't know. But I do know he's a grown man. He's an adult. He's a father. He's a husband. He's a good mentor to other people. He goes to church. He's a member of our Chino Valley community. I see him walking with his grandkids. He's a very good man in the community. And so when we started this, we were just, and again, another secret blessing that here's this gentleman who's trying to get a commercial license, but he's still being patient enough to go through a program and help us design a program, and help us learn, help him learn, and also help us learn in creating the program, sticking to the vocational language of the program. And then,
that's right.
yeah, that's what. And so he, and we have lots of stories and lots of experiences where it's freezing out there in the field, where in the backing skills, where we're practicing inspecting a vehicle and learning the language. We're all bundled up in our Eskimo gear, and we're still cracking jokes and identifying parts of the vehicle, making sure we enunciate the word correctly, and then we do crack a joke or two. And it's a very important thing, because the foundation the 2 years we spent designing this program is a blueprint, is a template for other career vocational programs that are out there.
Yeah, let's talk about that too. Is the program available to vocational ESL? Is that available to all students? What's the process to a student that is interested in enrolling in and being part of this program? And what's the plan for the future here for other career and technical education?
So as we see it now, is we've accomplished the career and technical training program for commercial driver's license, the CTE of the CDT program, career and technical education. But what we know we can do is, if we had anybody in the community who wants to say learn welding, we know that they would have to come in first to the college. We would have to. Well, we're willing to do this. We would design a classroom section where the students come into the classroom first just to learn the vocational language, so they could attend the welding class. While we're teaching them the vocational language to be a welder, such as a welding stick, acetylene, oxygen, a blazer, whatever, a stick welder, learning those vocational words in English, we would also, parallel to that, be teaching the instructor of how to enunciate, how to translate their practical exercises or their training or their textbooks from English to Spanish and back and forth, and also to be able to communicate with the student if there's a license or certificate or testing that they have to take. So that as general instructors, you always have students asking, hey, what's my next step? Where am I going with this? Hey, how do I apply for a job? Where would I get work for this type of career? We would be educating the instructor and the staff of that course in those areas of learning that vocational portion of the English second language.
We probably would have to use this blueprint in the sense that we're going to, we'd have to do basically everything we did here, but adjust it according to what the demands are and the type of program. Like we're talking about welding, using that. We keep bringing that up as an example. So we would take what we have here, we've done here, write instructor manuals, translate material. What do they need to know?
Right.
What do they license? Do they have to have a license? What are employers looking for? Because we want to make sure that they learn that. And then I'd have to do that in English first, and then figure all that out. And then we'd start putting it together and then translate it into a Spanish. And then, like Alex said, that we would prepare all the instructors. And this other program we started working on, we had to shelf it temporarily, is that we had someone that spoke Spanish and English. He was an instructor, but he would be the one I would train, or Alex would work with. This is how you work with your students.
Right.
These are the signs you watch for. Listen, go slower, get feedback more often. As teachers, we always are looking for feedback, that we're taught to do that. But when we're doing this, you do it more often, and you pause more and make sure they absorbed it, and let them come back and speak it to you in English. Make sure that they say they understand, but then show that they understand by speaking it. Because a lot of times they understand it, but they don't know how the words are.
Right.
And they're going to need to be able to do that with the boss.
So as of today, we're fall 2024 here. CDL is ready to roll with the vocational ESL, and the goal is that we'll be implementing the same methodology here in expanding it to all of the other career and technical education programs if we can.
If we can, yes.
That is our goal.
And the way to do that is when a student enrolls, it approaches its advisors or instructors and tell them I'm interested in this. And that's when you guys kind of start rolling your program. It starts that way.
Once a student or anyone who comes to the college and they wanted to enroll in our program or just ask about the program, they can speak to an academic advisor, a recruitment specialist, and let them know that they're interested in this vocational, any of the career and technical education programs we have. I'm not going to say all of them just yet because there's so many of them, and there's some that will require some level of prerequisite education to get into. One that comes to mind is a pre-engineering. But with that said, we're not afraid to step forward and get that student successful into those programs, learn the vocational English language they need to be successful in those career programs. We're ready if they just show an interest, we will work with them.
Yeah, so for students, they can just, if they're interested, even though there's not anything there that's vocational ESL for that subject, follow through what Alex just said, but also meanwhile, after we finalize some tweaks for this one, we'll begin a conversation with some of the other leadership to see if there's something we can specifically move into.
Right. If anyone is interested in learning more about this or just connecting with you guys about, the future of vocational ESL, where they get that information? Or
you start by just going to the Yavapai College website, yc.edu, and registering for a class. And once you click on registration, fill out the registration. There's an interest form. There's a section in there, put what you're interested in, and then enter into that box that you're interested in the vocational English second language program. From there, the academic advisors will contact the student. They'll contact us, and then we'll move forward from there.
Perfect.
It's yc.edu.
Well, I got a couple more questions here for you as we're wrapping up this episode. I call them the rapid fire questions so that we can get to know you a little bit better and just kind of get some insight into your area of expertise and your space here at Yavapai College. So, and because we're in a couple situation here, I'm not going to ask the same question to both of you. So I'm going to split the questions here between the two of you. You're a power couple, so you should be able to go through these questions, no problem. So first one here is, what new skill or area of knowledge have you been exploring lately, and how does it relate to your work at the college? I'm going to start with you, Alex, because you're a man of many hats.
Probably language, enunciations in language. Learning many foreign language and enunciation correctly. And then parallel to that is the patience that requires to learn that enunciation of those words.
Wonderful. And I'm sure Dawnette is helping you with that, right? To keep it.
She slows me down, and slows me down quite a bit.
I actually have to say that. I used to have to say, slow down, slow down, slow down.
All right. Second question is for you, Dawnette. If you could go back and give advice to yourself on your first day at Yavapai College, what would you say?
Geez, I don't know. Get to know more people faster and have fun with them at that work here. I just love everybody here. And I'm not just saying that, a lot of people they say that because I think that's the right thing to say. I like every single person I work with.
Love it. Alex, if you could invite any historical figure to speak at the community, at a community college event, who would it be and what topic would you have them address?
Oh, Benjamin Franklin.
Ooh.
His ideas with the kite flying up there in the sky and electricity and all the science that comes from it. Career and technical education is filled with science. No matter what the program is, we're filled with science. And he's got to be
brilliant.
One of the best.
There's a documentary series on Apple. Actually, it's a fiction, but based on facts about Benjamin Franklin. I don't know if you've seen that.
I haven't seen it yet, but I'll look for it.
The series recently. I learned so much about him. I mean, we know so little about Benjamin Franklin. He's just a man of a million hats, for sure. All right, Dawnette, if you had a magic wand to grant every community college student one skill for their future, what would it be and why?
Be self-confidence, but I want to define that. It's not built in what other people think of you. It's your confidence in yourself, because if your confidence is built on what somebody thinks and they roll their eyes or they get upset with you, then your confidence will start spiraling down. Your world will spiral. So my wand would be, you have your own self-confidence, trust in who you are, believe in yourself. Yes, you're going to make mistakes, but that's okay. Pull yourself up by the bootstraps and move on.
Love it. Alex, if you could put a billboard anywhere in one of our campuses with anything on it, what would it say and why?
We have that here. It's in the front door when you walk in. The mind does not forget what the hands have learned.
I love it. Yeah.
That is the essence of vocational, of what we do in the career and technical education program, the vocational English second language. The mind does not forget what the hands have learned.
Beautiful. Dawnette, any final thoughts? Alex, any final thoughts?
This is a great place. It's still a great place to work. Great place to learn, not just to work, but to work, to learn, and to achieve whatever goals you have.
Very cool. What is next for the power couple? Just continuing with VESL and making this program even more successful?
We are working on restarting the in-person adult basic education, the high school GED program. That's
for students that are already registered and programs, like lineman or CDL or over at CTEC, anything there, if they do not have a high school equivalency, but they want it. So we're starting our first one this October here at this campus so that we can just fully equip them. Not everybody wants it. Not everybody needs it. But those that didn't know it was available, we want to make it available.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for taking the time here to talk to.
Thank you.
Our podcast, and for sharing on all the good news and the great stories about Candelario. I look forward to hearing more about your future initiatives and everything else you're working on. I appreciate it. Alex, I'm going to close this podcast here with that line one more time, because that was just too good to just leave it in the past. What was the line again that we're going to put on the billboard?
It's over the door.
The mind has not forgotten. The mind does not forget what the hands have learned.
Okay. Get your hands busy then.
Yes. Yes. Busy hands equals success.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the YCNU podcast. We hope you enjoyed our conversation today. Don't forget to follow and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Got someone in mind for our next chat? Reach out and let us know. Until next time, keep exploring, and we'll see you next week.